Hey, welcome to my training for the month of April. Today we're going to be talking about the top tip for releasing resistance around financial success. And I want to talk a little bit about why I chose this topic. I've currently been studying a lot and going through a lot of work on resistance and learning to release resistance towards my own financial success, right? I've had some financial success in the past and it wasn't always sustainable. So I really wanted to dive in and understand what was driving that resistance. And of course, I always like to share when I learn something, and I've invested in a lot of time, most importantly, a lot of time, a lot of meditation, prayer, reading, a couple of programs to fully understand what was going on and how could I release that resistance. Because I, like you, I have desires when it comes to financial success. And I wasn't hitting or getting those desires. And I really wanted to understand why. And a lot of the programs that I've gone through, they weren't completely in alignment with my beliefs as far as that I believe that we were created by God and God is our ultimate source. And so luckily I'm in a place where I had enough discernment that I could replace what they were saying and get the nuts and bolts of what they were saying and take it and apply it in a way that I thought needed to be applied so I could get answers. But I can't in good conscience tell you to go buy this program because you might not be in a place that you can discern. And I don't want that responsibility that I've sent you down the wrong path. And while, I don't know that everything I know to be right, we all have our own perception of things. I do know that what I'm going to share with you, before I shared it, I got affirmation and confirmation that it was and is in alignment with what God says. So with all that, let's get started and dive in, because we all have resistance when it comes to financial success. Whether it's making our first, $100,000 or our first $10,000 or making, moving from 7 to 8 figures. There's going to be resistance that comes when we're trying to make a change. I need you to understand that. The problem is where is that resistance stemming from? And so many of us never become conscious or explore or try and to identify where this resistance is coming from. And the number one indicator that there is a problem is in our thoughts. But if you never pay attention or become conscious of what you're thinking, how can you identify where this resistance is coming from? So Google defines resistance as the refusal to accept or comply with something, the attempt to prevent something by action or argument. So as we're trying to get to our desires, a lot of times our behaviors are like refusing to get us there. I was listening to a neuroscientist or something, and he said that the mind's main job is to keep cohesiveness between our beliefs and our reality. So if you would have asked me yesterday, did I think that resistance was a bad thing always? I probably would have said, yeah. But this morning I was spending a lot of time reading and listening to some things. And as I was getting dressed, it occurred to me that not all resistance is bad. And let me explain. So a lot of times resistance will show up in thoughts of that we're not worthy of this financial success, or we're not smart enough, or we're not talented enough, or we don't have enough money to invest, that we're not responsible enough for money. Like, that's why we can't have what we want. Because all those thoughts are stemming from a belief somewhere. But what if the resistance is the mind's job of trying to keep cohesiveness between our beliefs and our reality? What if so knowing what I know plenty of times, but repetition is the key to change. So the mind is made up of two parts. We have the conscious and the unconscious. The conscious being the thinking part, the logical part. The unconscious being the emotional part of the mind. And in the unconscious is where our programming and our belief system is housed. And understand that our unconscious mind controls somewhere between 95 and 96% of our behavior. So our behavior is running on a program that was created between the ages of 0 and 7, possibly even while we were in utero. So our beliefs are influenced by our parents, by our family, by our church, by our school, all the people that we've been exposed to early on in life. So that's like the core of our belief system that was created between ages 0 and 7. Because everything that we're exposed to through our 5 senses early on in life is implanted on the unconscious mind. There's no filtering. It is just open. So for us that have kids, everything that we expose them to early on in life, it's going into the unconscious mind. That's why it's so important that we guard what we listen to, what we read, what we see, everything that we're taking in through our 5 senses. We need to make sure that it is in alignment with what we want to believe, because it is going to be imprinted on their little unconscious minds. And then somewhere around age 7, the conscious mind is developed, and at that point, they really can start to think, and they can decide. They can take captive what is brought in and decide and allow it to go into the unconscious mind. But up until then, they don't have that choice. We didn't have that choice. We took in everything that we were told, or what was done to us, or what we were exposed to. And so a lot of our beliefs are truth, right? If you were born in a house that was religious, or you went to church, a lot of our beliefs are the 10 Commandments. That, we believe that you shouldn't kill. We believe that you shouldn't lie. Those are some of our beliefs, because there are morals and our values. But then there's the beliefs that were just perception from someone else that was conveyed over to us. Some might have been told that they were fat, or, made fun of because of their size or their intelligence, and all the things that we heard and was exposed to as a child. So when I realized this morning that if resistance is the unconscious, the beliefs not being in alignment with the reality, we have to understand what the belief is that's causing that friction. But what if the belief is a moral issue and that's where the resistance is stemming from? What if the way you're wanting to make money, the opportunity you've been exposed to, what if it's not in alignment with what your morals and your values are, and you don't even realize it? And that's where the resistance is stemming from. So that's why it's so important that we become conscious and we really take those thoughts captive so we can go to the source and identify the source of the resistance. We can identify the belief that's creating the resistance. And we can ask ourselves, is this the truth? Or is this something that I perceived to be the truth? But you see, so many people don't do that because it takes energy, it takes time, it takes commitment, it takes focus, it takes dedication, that we slow down and become so aware of what we're thinking and go through to identify where those thoughts are coming from. Because it's so much easier that if our unconscious mind is controlling 96% of our behavior, that we just let it run on autopilot, right? But if that belief system that has programmed your unconscious mind is not in alignment with what you want your reality to be, there's going to be resistance. And unless you work through the resistance to release it, it's not going away whether you change companies 500 times. It's still going to be there. Because it's not an outside problem, it's an inside problem. I was reading yesterday in The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. I've talked about that book a lot. It was one of the first books that I read when I got into sales, because believe it or not, I've been working on my mindset for over a decade now. And in the book, he talked about that if you like money, it's merely a symptom of what's going on underneath. And that sounds so simple. And it is simple, but it's not always easy to correct. So he gave the example of, if we think of our life as a tree, and the fruits on the tree are our results, and we look at the tree and we don't see the amount of fruit or the fruits that we want, if we merely just start trying to change the fruit or work on the fruit, we're not going to get any change, right? We have to go to the root of the problem, the roots of the tree, the base of the tree, and put in the work there and see why it's not bearing the fruit that we want it to bear. So the principle behind that is that the invisible creates the visible. Our beliefs create our reality. Our beliefs create our financial situation. And if we never take the time to become aware of our beliefs, how can we change it? That's like the definition of insanity. We're just continually doing the same thing day in, day out, expecting something different. It's not going to happen. You know, he talks a lot about what our financial thermostat is, and that's where we're comfortable with money. Just like, you know, if I set the thermostat at 70 degrees here, and, you know, I open the door, it's going to stay, it's going to work to get the temperature back where I have the thermostat set. Well, the same thing happens with our money. For those that may make money but find themselves right back in a financial struggle, it's a problem with your financial thermostat. And your financial thermostat cannot be changed until you become aware of the beliefs and the programming that even set the financial. That's why lottery winners and people that gamble and they win a lot of money, it's gone because they haven't put in the work to get to the point where they can acquire. Because it's a journey. It's a journey. And some of us go through the journey quicker than others. Because we become more aware and conscious and work every day to work on our beliefs. But so many people never take that time. A staggering statistic that I read is that 80% of people will never see financial be financially free because they live life unconscious. And if we're living life unconscious, we're allowing that programming that has been created all through our life to run our behaviors that dictate our results. So at the end of the day, if we live in an unconscious state and never become conscious, never start to question, never look into, never become aware of what's going on up here, this out here will continue to be the same. It doesn't matter what environment we're placed in, because the inside controls the outside. The invisible is responsible for the visible. So it's not the situations around us that's dictating our lack of success. It's what's going on up here. I can't change what's going on in your mind. I can give you information. I can give you guidance. But you have to do the work to get to the point where you are thinking different thoughts. You're believing different things. In a class that I'm doing, it's a 33-day challenge. And it's based on Think and Grow Rich, the book Think and Grow Rich. She talks in the book, he says, Napoleon Hill says, that nothing comes free. Right? We have to put in the work daily. And a lot of times that work isn't messaging people, posting it on social media, all the things. That work is on ourselves. That work is reading God's word. That work is praying. That work is meditating. That work is like consciously taking captive what our thoughts are and tracing them back to the beliefs, journaling it out, get it out. But it's so much easier if we just point blame at other people, when we have to take responsibility. So I'm going to leave you with something that if you don't understand anything else, that you take this to heart and you realize that all of our thoughts are based on a belief that we have, whether it be true or not. And our thoughts cause our body to release a hormone that causes us to have a feeling or an emotion. And that emotion drives every behavior that we have. And our behaviors are what result into our reality. And I'm a big believer in reverse engineering things to get to the core. So if I'm not making enough money that I want right now, What behavior is causing that? Perhaps I'm not doing enough activity. I'm not contacting enough people. I'm not whatever. Then I have to ask myself, what am I feeling that's causing me not to? Perhaps it's fear. Perhaps it's embarrassment. I don't know what it is for you. But once I identify what that feeling is that is driving my behavior, I have to ask myself, what thought am I thinking is causing me to feel that way? Well, maybe, if I'm feeling embarrassment, maybe I'm thinking that, someone's going to make fun of me and then I'm going to be embarrassed, and I can already see it. And then I have to ask myself, where is that thought originating from? What belief do I have that would cause me to think that thought? And chances are there's some story or some situation that happened early on in life where you were laughed at because you did something, perhaps. And your little mind took it to generalize it that every time I do something that I'm going to be laughed at. I'm going to feel embarrassed. And when you get into the habit of taking ownership and looking at your reality and saying, this isn't the reality I want. Why is it not the reality I want? What's happening? What's going on? And you backtrack it to get to that belief. Then you can start to release that belief and you can start to reprogram it. But if you don't take anything else from this, take that and understand that you are in control of your reality. I'm in control of my reality. The money I have in my bank account right now is because of me, not the economy, not the inflation. It's because of me and where my thoughts have been. And how empowering is that to know that we can take captive those thoughts and work on releasing them, rewiring them, changing the beliefs that need to be changed because they're not the truth. During all this work that I've been doing over the last, 120 days, there's been so many revelations that have come to me that beliefs that I've been holding on to 40 years or whatever, that I can now see that where I generalized and my perception and I took to heart and I lived life based on what I perceived to be the truth with my mom was never her intention. And because my behavior was aligning with what that belief was, because I was thinking thoughts that was causing emotions that were driving my behavior, my reality that I've been living in was based on something that I perceived and took in to be the gospel. And realizing that, it's changed so much about my reality in such a good way. Because I can look at it and say, that's not what she meant. That's not what I should have believed. That is not the truth. And I can tell myself what the truth is and start to rewire it. But I could never do that if I don't take the responsibility and the time to take ownership and to become conscious and self-aware of the thoughts that I'm thinking. So the best tip that I can give you about releasing resistance to your financial success, and for that matter, for any desire in your life, is to become conscious and self-aware. Of course, there's some things that you have to do once you become conscious and self-aware. You have to release it, and then you have to rebuild it with something else, reprogram it. And saying that, I do have that I've worked on, because like I said, I've been working on this for the last, I don't know, 120 days, picking up some processes here and there and adapting it to a system that works for me, for a method that has worked for me. And I've put that all together in some trainings. And I wanted to test it and see, if there's an interest for it. And I have it available for $44, just a small investment, because the thing I've found is that when I give people things, because they have no skin in the game, they don't even take a look at it. And, we're all in business for business. And so if I have to charge a small fee for you to do the work that I know will work, and you can get a different result, then $44 is a very small investment to make into learning a method that will allow you to reveal, release, and replace the beliefs that are creating your current reality. So I'll drop some information in the comments about that. It may be later on today, because I got to do just a few more tweaks, because I want to add some journaling prompts to the video so that you can work alone. But as I close, I'm a big believer in journaling. I'm a big believer in getting it out of our minds and getting it on paper, because then we can just really start to see whether it's the truth or our perception of something. One of the things that I would encourage you to journal on, to think on, to whatever. What is your money story? What do you tell yourself when it comes to money? Like, who are you and what are your beliefs around money? What story are you telling yourself around money? Because that will be a big indicator of where the resistance is coming from, where the resistance is originating from. And I would encourage you to really take command of what you're listening to, who you're talking to, what you're reading, what you're watching, what you're taking in. Because y'all, the negative is so easy to put emotion to, and the only way the unconscious mind can be imprinted is if we convey information to it with emotion. And we can get real emotional about some negative stuff, but it's not as easy to get emotional about positive stuff. So please be careful in what you're consuming through your 5 senses. Really begin to journal on what your money story is, so you can get a full understanding. And take a look at the offer, the beliefs lab, where I go through my method of revealing, releasing, and replacing beliefs. That has really worked well, that I've been able to break through and get such clarity and reprogramming on things that are changing my life, changing my marriage, changing my relationship with my daughter, changing my relationship with my mom, all the really important things in my life, because I've taken ownership. So I hope this was helpful. Drop any comments that you have in the comment section, and I'll get back with you. I believe that this message was a message that God led me to, and I just hope that what I've conveyed is as good to you as it has been to me. So I hope you'll have a great day, and I will talk to you again soon.